Welcome back to Off the Thread Reds. We're a group chat of above average Reds fans, overreact, overanalyze, and keep coming back for more. We'll break down what's happening with the Reds in real time and react to the highs and lows of being a Cincinnati Reds fan. In today's episode, we'll be breaking down if the 2026 season is all over. And you'll find out here in a little bit what we mean. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and do a little spring training breakdown. To start things off, we're just going to run through the scores of the game, kind of point some stuff out, but let's go ahead and get into it. So we had in 3-12 Reds Dodgers. We had a loss on that one, 5-9. March 13th, we had Reds versus Giants, big win, and we actually played the Giants in a split squad and won the other game, which was great. We played the Rangers next, won that 4-3. Mariners after, we had a loss 3-6. Reds versus D-backs, 6-11. Reds versus Guardians, our buddies there in Goodyear, we had a loss 6-8. Reds versus Rockies, another loss 6-8. And then we had Reds versus Angels, we had a loss 4-7. Last thing we're going to do before getting into this episode is kind of break down player spotlights. Spring training is almost wrapped up here. Right now, we got Matt McLain, who's absolutely murdering the ball. His stats for spring training look like a video game character. We got Will Benson, who is showing the power, which is great to see. JJ Bleday is doing the same thing, which is awesome. Reese Hines is showing out. Hopefully, he kind of puts a good season together. Brandon Williamson's looking great, which is great for the Reds, especially when we get into our talks here in a little bit. Sam Mole's actually been unreal, and he might find his way on a spot there. And then lastly, Rhett Lauder, who's someone we need with 15 Ks with only 12 innings. Love to see it. Before we move on, boys, thoughts on spring training so far and everything that we've seen?
Crushing the ball. In a time in which we feel like our pitching was top 5 and everything feels like it's going through the floor and up in flames, seeing the players that we are contemplating putting on the 26-man roster hitting as well as they are, that's refreshing. Seeing Suarez ball out the way he has in the WBC, that's refreshing. So it doesn't feel like all is doom and gloom when you do look at our bats this spring. But overall, shocking to see some of the names that have popped up. Sam Moll, 9 games, 9 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. You have someone go down like a lefty that we had earlier, and Sam Moll can kind of fill that void until he comes back. Overall, I think a lot of players have kind of shown out and made it a hard 26-man to make.
Yeah, it's been an up and down spring, I would say, with just some horrible injury news paired with some great performances from guys that you expected to be either fringe roster invites or hoping for a bounce back from. So everything on this page is great news, which is needed. I'm ready for some real ball and to see these guys like Matt McLain, getting hits off of Garrett Crochet, not at a spring training game.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that McLain he's not going to be able to keep up what he's been doing. I just hope usually when a guy's hitting the cover off the ball, usually he comes back down to earth pretty quick and has that other side of it. So hopefully that doesn't line up with opening day and the start of the season. But if he can just no objections with Matt McLain currently, but if he can even bat 275 this year, like I think we'd all be overjoyed with that. Like he doesn't even have to touch 300, but if he's, striking out last, putting the ball in play and just keeping his approach how he was back when he was a rookie, I think the season is somewhat of a success from his standpoint.
Right. I mean, it's positive signs. I'm not going to fall into believing that he became Robinson Cano overnight, but it's a good sign if he can find
he's back on the right track,
what
right?
he did last year.
Right. Right.
That's what we need. Yeah.
So before we kind of move on, it's interesting, John. I like your point you brought up. Like as a manager, if spring training ends and it's tough to figure out what your 26-man is, that means the players are doing great, right? Or it's the opposite where they're struggling a lot and you can't put a team together. But I think what this team's shown is that there is depth, especially when we need it here soon. But hey, the Reds do look good, and let's hope we kind of continue that going into the season. Now, before we move on to more Reds talk, let's talk a little bit about World Baseball Classic. The last game, Venezuela USA, was last night. So what's your guys' thoughts, opinions on the game, and also, I guess, the tournament as a whole?
I mean, I think I mentioned it last time we talked about how shocked I was at the lack of hitting and power from the USA lineup. based off of the names we saw. And I think last night is the biggest example of it. I mean, 3 hits against like a very mediocre MLB pitcher. They just got absolutely shut down. I mean, just what is that? It was shocking.
3 hits, and if you take out Bryce Harper, only 1 from Will Smith. Yeah, I mean, the approach at the plate didn't look good at all. Double-digit Ks with a roster like that, facing the pitching that they did, and double-digit Ks reached before like the 7th inning. Just thought the plate approach wasn't as crisp as it could have been against Venezuela. Now, as for a tournament as a whole, I think a lot of people are seeing the growth that baseball has, especially in the tournament itself. I don't doubt that if we can avoid a lockout, coming up next year, baseball could become a top 2 sport in the United States within the next 5 years with the changes that they've been making, especially with the WBC and being able to piggyback off the fans that they had. One thing that I do want to bring up, just about the WBC in general, that I think we could see clear as day, when you make those big games affordable to the common fan, people were able to go to first round games for $40 in Houston. The Miami game, you get a ticket for $225 to a championship game in the WBC. When you make it affordable for the common fan, just the crowd involvement and the pop of the crowd is so much different than when tickets are $1,000, $1,500, and it's a bunch of corporate sponsors. So that was good to see in that aspect.
Yeah, the tournament was awesome. And I liked how they had the different host cities. Like Tokyo was awesome. Obviously 2 in the US. I'm blanking on the 4th location, but no, I mean, this was probably the most amount that I watched personally. And I love baseball. It just was never like really like something that I considered until this past year. And then it just really, really appreciated what the tournament provided. Curious your guys' thoughts on like who do you blame the most for the US's loss, whether it's individual performance, coaching, or just our inability to recruit, elite starting pitching outside of Skeens and Skubal. But
If we're talking this last game, like the coaching, I was pretty hot about the coaching last night, but it's really tough to look at the list of names that we threw up there against that pitching and only got 3 hits and point too big of a finger at Mark DeRosa. Now, with that being said, that's the only part I will talk about with the players. Mark DeRosa, in some of the maneuvers he made, like starting Bregman and Buxton in a championship game when PCA and Henderson have been 2 of your better hitters on the bench, that didn't make too much sense to me. I did see that Mason Miller was only to come in if it was a save situation. One thing that I guess doesn't sit right with me, whether this is true or completely false, which I can almost guarantee it is false, you can't help but feel like it meant more to other countries than it did the United States. And the players can tell us how bought in they were and everything like that. And it's not always because of the bat flips and the emotion. But you got dudes for Venezuela pitching back-to-back days. You got Al Contreras saying if the Dominican Republic made it, he'd be willing to tear his elbow off. Players saying they'd rather win this game than the World Series, things like that.
well,
And you can't get Skubal for more than 2 innings, and he's
Yeah,
going to
they
wear the hockey jersey.
they literally made that comment. Sorry, like about the DR and Venezuela. Like this means more than World Series. And then there was like a judge interview right before the championship game where he's like, I mean, yeah, it's not like the World Series, but it'd be nice to win this too. It's like, so it
I-
clearly did mean different.
like Suarez's post-game interview, like Acuna was like, Venezuela made Ronald Acuna Jr. Like, I want to win this more than the World Series for Atlanta. And he's like, I love Atlanta, but I am Venezuelan. So like, that was like the like everything that he was mentioning. Just even the fans looked like they wanted it more too. Just every time they cut to the Venezuelan like fans, they were literally like hopping over their chairs, like just immediately like doing all the chants and everything. So obviously it's only cut to what the TV showed us, but yeah, I mean, they all looked pissed off that they lost, but like I bet the emotional down from the Venezuelan team, if they were to have lost, probably would have been even greater than the win that they showed.
Yeah, I think it's like really interesting. Like you brought up the whole like Mason Miller could only pitch if a certain scenario came up. I mean, that closer for Venezuela, he was disgusting. I'm very worried that he's on the Cubs. Yeah, like that he looked great, but like besides that, I think the WBC tournament, awesome. Everything they did, great. Fan like show out, it was awesome. I love this event. The one thing I'm very frustrated is the time in which the tournament is. I think it's very, very. I guess it doesn't help the players. Like when it's located, does not help the players. There's so many rules and regulations that they have to follow, especially big name players. So if you're talking about starting pitching, right, for Team USA, like of course you're not going to get many pitchers because organizations or themselves aren't going to do it. I think they need to figure out a different time in the year to do this. I know that's difficult to ask, and especially it can't be in the fall after the season. People are closed down, but like there's got to be some middle ground where they can figure out the WBC. Maybe it's during the year. Like during the season, they take a time off, kind of like what the NBA does. I don't know. Interesting. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this, but I don't know. Going forward, I feel like there's got to be something different.
Yeah, Max Scherzer commented on it and said if we even push it back 2 weeks into spring training closer to the season, where it's like right before the season, but more players are warmed up, that could work. I've seen ideas thrown around about, hey, All-Star break, that'd be a great time to put it. All of that makes a total, like a ton of sense. And Venezuela and Dominican Republic still might not have had all the players that they had available to them. The time that tournament is, even if it doesn't change, I would like to see at least like, I know insurance policies for some players that are able to go and cannot go. That was a big topic. Like Mike Trout, for instance, because he had a season-ending injury, he wasn't able to have any sort of insurance if he was to play for the United States. Getting those big names, not being able to be insured, something that the World Cup does a great job at in soccer. Other platforms do it, but the WBC is not. I think that's a big thing that they need to work on as well, not just the timing of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the timing of it. I don't really like the idea of a 2-week tournament biting into the All-Star break, at least not in a normal year. I get if you kind of do it like hockey does with the Olympics and it's once every 4 years and you consistently can plan for it. I don't know if hockey plays later into the season and it starts earlier or if they just like condense the amount of games. Um, I wouldn't really want to see a condensed amount of games just for the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I definitely really enjoyed it. Yeah, maybe you're missing out on a few stars for the other countries. I feel like US got a pretty complete lineup. Like Mike Trout would not have helped our strikeout problems last night.
No.
No, our batting stats are like right in the middle of the road of like our average was 250. We had looks like 10 home runs. The DR had 15, Japan had 10, Italy had 12, Mexico had 8, Venezuela also had 10. But like, I mean, the performance was more like aligned with the players. I kind of like the time that it led up because it made me more excited for opening day and the upcoming season, and
Right.
it kind of gave guys more of an opportunity to get the rust off and be like. I think Suarez, like that opportunity is way more like impactful than hitting maybe once or twice in Arizona against some minor league pitcher or someone who's trying to make the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly thought with the United States, ever since the Italy game when they went down 8-0, I thought the team, like, yeah, I got some garbage time runs there, but the bats did not wake up. Since the 8th inning on from that game, you only scored 3 runs in total or 4 runs in total, whatever it was, between Dominican Republic and Venezuela. I thought the DR versus the United States game lived up to the hype, even though it was low scoring. Robbed homers, like the emotion was there. I thought that was a fantastic game. Venezuela game was awesome. I thought the tournament was fantastic in general. Yeah, I don't know what you could change. It is only played every 4 years, so you do have time to make changes and prepare for it. But overall, I just want to see a little more buy-in maybe on the United States side and kind of live up to what the Latin American countries brought to the table.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably wanted to see more runs in the game on Sunday, but overall, that USDR game did live up to the hype and being just like an intense playoff like baseball game. And that's what really got me excited for the season upcoming and got me excited for ABS. A couple of those calls were just absolute garbage. They benefited the US team.
Yeah. Y'all, hey, World Baseball Classic, I thought ended great. It was a good kind of like what Mark said, start to get into the year. Also, shout out to our boy Gino. I mean, that was one of the coolest. That might have been one of the coolest baseball things I've seen. because of how passionate and emotional he was when he got to second, and his post game interview and all that stuff. So happy for him. Hopefully he does that with the Reds and pulls off some magic. But World Baseball Classic, you guys killed it. And excited to see kind of how it transforms in the future. All right, let's get into our main kind of topic for the episode today, which is the 2026 season already over? Really what we're talking about is injuries. They're starting to stack up now as we get later in spring training. We've had some pitching injuries that are probably going to change the beginning of the year a lot. So I would love to hear your thoughts kind of on Hunter Green, which we talked about, Chase Burns now, and potentially Brady Singer. So what are your guys' kind of feelings now about the 2026 season?
I don't think it's over. I'm going to be a little bit more positive spin than I was last time, just because checking on the numbers, especially when you can lean on some spring training data to show that the boys are a little bit humming, makes you feel a little bit better. I'm certainly, honestly, at this point, most nervous about Chase Burns. It seems like there's a lot of gray areas surrounding what's going on with him. Limited range of motion in his pitching arm. Never love hearing that. He's saying in interviews that he feels great. It was announced that Brandon Williamson as well as Rhett Lauder, they've made the opening day roster. So if we do have Chase Burns, healthy, and Brady Singer can't go, then you're looking at Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, and Brandon Williamson, I imagine, would be a starting 5 rotation there for you, which I think is a rotation that can hold water. Looking at other injuries, Caleb Ferguson, he went down. That's a lefty that you brought in the offseason. You were hoping he could be an inning eater and setup kind of guy. Sam Mull has had a hell of a spring. If he can even carry that in for the first couple of weeks until that strained oblique for Caleb can come back a little bit and send Sam Mull down. But either way, I think we are to a place where we got to trust that the hitting's going to maybe perform, and then we can plug and play a little bit in the pitching and hold water.
I don't think the season's over. I think you can be cautiously nervous for the season. I think just from a starting pitching standpoint, like we talked and started off our show with talking about the strengths of the team, and that was starting pitching, and now you could make a case that it might be the weakest part of the team with Hunter Green going down. Chase Burns, like John just mentioned, is kind of in a questionable state. Even Abbott is our now quote unquote number one. And I know it's spring training, and we focus on the good stats when it's good. And then when it's bad, we throw it away, right? Like that's the whole fun part of spring training games. But he hasn't really shown the stuff currently. And there's still, I think he has one more start probably before he gets to opening day. So if he is going to bounce back, would love to see a little bit of improvement in his next start. But you're pretty much relying on guys that are young or coming off injury or are injury prone. Lodolo, Brady Singer's a good pitcher, but he's also rumored to have blister problems now. So I think you can be excited for the season because we're romantic about baseball, but in terms of putting as much stock into their success as we did maybe a couple weeks ago, I have dialed back a little bit, but I still think they're going to be fun to watch. Like to John's point, if the bats are swinging and it's, maybe more high scoring, that's fun from a fan standpoint. It'll be frustrating as well when they blow a lead. But in terms of just what to, root for the season, I'm still going to watch every game and be disappointed when they do lose that random Wednesday, Thursday, night game.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say the season's over before game one. And there's still a lot of young guys on the roster too. So there is the possibility that people take jumps, and a lot of these arms, we were excited about how deep we were as a team, and now we're really just thinning out. That's the issue that's happening right now, right? So we're a couple more injuries away from the dam breaking and having to put in some pretty bad options in the starting rotation. But as it stands right now, I mean, it's still doable to hold your ground, and then hopefully some of these guys get healthy. I would like to hear Jerry from Pleasant Ridge's take on Chase Burns. The Reds not liking the way Chase Burns' arm is moving. That's the information we're fed as fans. What do you think he would say?
Jerry, he would come in here and with
Playoff
his southern playoff push. He would say range of motion. You should see my range of motion when I'm getting out of bed. Something like that. I don't know, but I mean, in reality, like I think this is like a two-parter. I think the Reds are very hesitant, making sure they don't have as many injuries, so they're kind of looking over things, probably more in depth. But the one thing I've kind of like thought of with our schedule as a whole, I think we're actually in an okay position because of how like weak, you don't know yet, but weak our schedule is at the beginning of the year. So like as long as we are a little bit above 500 going through the first part of the season, I think we still have a good shot. It's just making sure we don't crumble, which the Reds historically have done in the month of April. So I don't know. I'm curious to kind of see how we start off, but I don't want to lose hope. But there's a good part of me that is a little just disappointed, I guess. Disappointed.
I have two quick things. One's a question for you, John, so be on the lookout. First one is we harp ourselves on playing fundamentally sound baseball, right? Like run, smart on the base paths, make sure you're not making mistakes in the field, like playing clean defense. And that's even more important now that you maybe can't rely on your starting pitchers getting outs. They might be in a position where you're going to have to make a play. And hopefully the team was always constructed in a way that that's the way Tito wants to play. So hopefully they actually live up to the style that we've always been told. Will they is another, obviously, point, but to John, the range of motion, is this being considered from the medical team in your opinion? What's the nervous range that you're coming from with your hesitancy with the staff?
I just don't think I don't think that's a professional answer to at least give to media or fans. Like, right? Like if you're going to be as vague as to say, hey, Chase Burns has a range of motion issue, that within 4 hours, Chase Burns is going on an interview and just absolutely saying that is not the case. He feels great. He doesn't know what's going on. Like, that's not a transparent answer. That's as vague as it gets. And as a fan, you're just sitting here left to wonder. Like, Chase Burns has a range of motion issue. Okay, where does that go? Does he have to stretch a little bit and he figures it out? Or next thing you know, he's got bone chips? We don't know. I think it's just, are we going to play this like Spencer Steer? Are we going to find out at the end of 2025 he played the entire season partially injured? Or is this something where he's actually okay? You just never know with this organization. It's unfortunate, but you don't.
Yeah, you're telling me that communication, they didn't have the best choice of words when talking to their fan base and the media.
It speaks to like the seeds of toxicity with Hunter Green in the organization, right? Like we obviously acknowledge like that exists. Is this just essentially like the last thing we want is Chase Burns to kind of follow suit and have issues with the organization putting fake stuff out there, stuff that isn't 100% true, or if it is true and you want to, like get in front of it yourself, like you don't have the opportunity to do so. I don't know. It is weird all around.
Within 4 hours, Trent's putting something out that he doesn't expect Chase Burns to make it because of this issue. Chase Burns is saying it's not true. You've got Spalding on Twitter talking about how I've heard that this is not occurring. Like, nobody knows. And I don't think the Reds know. I don't think their medical staff knows. I think the only person you can trust is the athlete. I think that's why I was mad when Hunter Green said he felt this for 7 games and there was nothing that was done about it. Chase Burns, if he's telling me he feels great, I have to believe him because I can't trust the medical staff personally. I mean, Tomas Verjas, our guy who's the medical staff, was partying with Venezuela last night. He's their head of medical training. He's not even in spring training right now. So I don't know who we're getting the info from. You could get me started on the medical staff for a long time.
Do you think this is an excuse to not have Burns start on the opening day roster? That isn't just to start.
I do think that this could be an excuse, right, to send him down, not give him that. I also think that a thought could be limiting innings, right? If you want him to be ready for the end of the year and you're trusting what you're seeing out of Williamson and Rhett Lauder, and even if this is a minuscule issue, it's not even really apparent too much, there's no harm in letting him not throw a bunch of innings towards the beginning of the year when you know you're going to need that arm towards the end. But it's just tough. I hate the fact that we do things like this as an organization when we put things out about players that players within hours are saying is not true and that they did not actually feel. But we consistently do it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you
You don't
if,
like that mismatch.
if you're gonna manipulate, like if you want to have different like control or manipulate his usage so that way he doesn't burn through his innings, through the first half, just be on the same page with him and just be like, hey, this is our plan. Like it's all about just setting expectations and having that communication that they clearly have shown the inability to do.
Within 6 weeks, the Reds front office leaked that they offered Elliott a contract, making him look like a bad guy in the spotlight of fans. They came out and said Chase Burns has a possible injury. Chase Burns said it's not true. And Hunter Green has to go on a tyrant to the Reds beat writers that he had his name defamed. So, like, those are 3 faces of the organization that are all not too happy with things that have come out publicly, and that's only in a 6-week time frame.
But we have Marshmello performing after one of the games, so we're good.
Harry Potter,
Correct.
baby.
Yeah, we got Harry Potter. Yeah.
Star Wars and the Harry Potter bobblehead night are going to be lit.
So, I mean, I think just like recap and wrap all this up is like the 2026 season is up in the air because I think it's just been a mismanagement of player personnel, injury, and just like what the organization is trying to do as a whole. I don't think they actually have like a clear direction on where they're trying to go. And I think this is just like, the result of that. Now, I will say this. If the Chase Burns injury is a service time or innings control, I am going to be extremely upset as a fan. I mean, he's one of your best pitchers. Put him on your opening day lineup. Like, let him pitch. That is something the Reds have done in the past with service time stuff, and I know, but like, I don't know. That might put me over the edge on me being actually a very upset fan, which I never am. So, I don't know. That's kind of my final thoughts on it. What are your guys' final thoughts, kind of going into the 2026 season before we move on?
Didn't they do that to him last year though? Didn't he have like kind of a weird? Was it a groin? What injury did he have that put him out for like the last like before the playoffs started? Wasn't he? Or am I just making this up in my head? He was out for a bit last year too, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. It was in September.
Yeah.
He stopped like starting. He wasn't in the starting rotation anymore. I actually don't remember what the injury
I don't know
was.
if they put him on the IL or they must have, but I feel like they did that already. Like they brought him up midway through the year and then shut him down a little bit and then brought him back up to speed for like when it mattered most. But like I feel like they do that all the time. But I think the season's obviously less. I'm less optimistic. Doesn't mean I'm less excited for the season to start. You just got to go play baseball, right? He's still got a shot.
Final thoughts on my end are pretty easy. Going back to the positivity trend, I haven't been this excited for our hitting in our lineup in a long time. Between McLean, De La Cruz, Suarez, Sal Stewart, Noble Marte, Will Benton, Spencer Steer. I just think we have like depth in hitting. We're not plugging and playing dudes randomly. We're not having to go to, Blake Dunn, nothing against him, or players like that. We're not having to dip into the well too much if people can stay relatively healthy, which to me is exciting. I do see the Reds bats coming a little bit more alive than I think I had anticipated previously, and that is from a little bit of spring training bias. But at the same time, when you look at the names that are guaranteed currently roster spots, you have to be a little bit excited about where this team can go offensively.
Yeah, I don't want to bring us back down a negative path with a final thought about Reds ownership communication, but I mean, to me, it kind of all started with missing out on Schwarber and their comments right after that. That their belief was that his addition would help drive ticket sales was the comment that came right afterwards. And I don't know. It's frustrating, but I'm excited. I'm excited for baseball. And 162 games. There's time to figure some things out.
I mean, we're all 4 of us are going to be down there for opening day, so it's not like we're not going to be rooting the Reds on. We're not going to be doing our thing. Now, I will say this though: the Reds got to do something this year. I mean, if the Reds don't make a push, go to the playoffs, do something, I think the ownership's in a bad spot. I'm just going to say it now.
They're going to acquire a all-star level pitcher at the deadline, Kirby. He's just
For the
going to
record,
free.
I will not be, in case any of my coworkers listen, I will not be at opening day.
My bad, Joey. Sorry, Joey.
We'll be back
No.
3 out of 4.
No, don't
that's
lie
pretty
to the
good.
people. You said you're bringing the computer to Holy Grail. Don't lie now.
You're like
No.
you're attaching the mouse onto something that's just going to keep moving, something like that.
Mouse
No.
on the Roomba.
First
Not
5
really
fans that
how it works.
first 5 fans that see us at opening day can do someone's tax return.
Yes.
All right. So that's kind of our final thoughts on the 2026 season. We'll see what happens. But let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, West Side Rant here with John, which is going to be a little different. So, John, take it away.
Yeah, I think I could rant about a bunch of stuff going on currently as a Cincinnati sports fan, but we're gonna tip the cap to positivity this week and come at you with something new. It's gonna be called Caps Corner. It's gonna be where I just have a question here for the group. The group is gonna have to come up with the answer. I believe they had a little bit of leeway and had time to come up with an answer for this. I also may have just lied about that, but the question today for you boys, which player on the Reds, past or present, would you want to get a beer with? Now, as you take your time and you think about that, I'll start with my answer. I think that's helpful for you all. I'll give you an extra 30 seconds. First player that I thought of when I thought about getting a beer, and I would say this also, what beers are you drinking with said player? So if I'm drinking with Sean Casey, who I think is my first, I think just because he can put down 30 plus beers probably, we're going to be drinking Busch Light. We're going to be drinking Busch Light and probably looking at the Ohio River and talking about what could have been with him on the team. Now, if I have a backup option, this would be drinking Jack Daniel straight, and we would be drinking with Derek Dietrich. And I just need to hear about his one season with the Reds, the hatred versus the Pirates, his thoughts when he saw Amir Garrett go after the entire bench and what he and Yasiel Puig were thinking, the bicep curls. Those are my 2 players that I can think of that I would want to have a beer with, have a drink with, pick their brains. I'll pass it off to whoever's ready.
Are you ready to? I feel like you'd be in a bar fight if you're drinking just liquor with.
Hey,
That's
Like,
a very
yeah,
fair
like-
point.
if that's where the
Yeah.
night takes us, that's where the night takes us.
I mean, and if you are in a fight, I'm glad he's on my team personally.
And if I do get into a fight, Masali Law will have my back.
Whether it's personal injury, law, estates, wills, trust, whatever you need. John, when life throws you a curveball, you go to Masali Law. I think so, like if we're like trying to like just ask about war stories, I think Pete Rose, like can we dig up, like, is it pressed? Like,
Yes.
okay,
Go
Pete
for it.
Rose, like, I mean, just talk about just full conversation of just everything from being player coach, Big Red Machine, just all of the stories on the road. Just he's had so much, history in the game. I think if I'm just wanting to just have like a really fun night, I think Todd Frazier would be an awesome guy to just shoot the shit with. The Rockies are blue, Coors Light probably, and just kind of hang out, right?
That's a good take. I think Pete Rose, you'd get more than just baseball. He was like the mayor of Cincinnati
I mean,
for a long time. Like, people just loved him. He was always in the streets, Mount
signing
Adams, he was at
autographs for like
rallies. Yeah.
$30. He would. I mean, I'm sure he probably has some crazy just party stories outside of like just baseball itself too.
No doubt.
Yeah, there is one guy that I think all of us probably have had a beer with, and that's Billy Hamilton when he was running around the city.
Yeah.
Every Thursday night, Billy Hamilton was at Pavilion.
Yeah. Jefferson Social. After I think he did buy us shots once, didn't he?
Dude,
Probably.
I've got pictures of Billy Hamilton out on the town at least 3 separate times on my phone, and Jefferson Social was for 2 of them. Pavilion might have been the other one. He was always scheming.
Yeah. Of a current player, I do think Nathaniel Lowe would be a good hang to have some beers with. Honestly.
Hubba wubba ding dong.
I mean, my initial thought was kind of like Bronson Arroyo,
Ooh.
I don't know. Is he like a super religious guy who maybe doesn't drink a lot? I know he does music and he plays concerts and stuff. And he does like his personality strikes me as, a good hang. He would be a good storyteller. He was a Reds pitcher through pretty much the bulk of our childhood. Also won a World Series with the Red Sox and was in the fight. He was the one that hit A-Rod that caused the fight with Veritek and A-Rod, so he was in the middle of that. I feel like there's just a lot of good stories to get out of him.
I like that
All
take.
right. So my take is strictly just how much fun can you have for one night, and I'm gonna go Adam Dunn.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
mean, who knows where that night's gonna take you? Who knows? But it
Drake
was either
Younger at
him.
the table.
Yeah. The Texas boys. It was either him or Jay Bruce because I feel like they just know what to do. I mean, you could just be around a campfire and you're just gonna have the time of your life. So those are my two. Todd Frazier was a great one. That I think he's the most personable Red that has been around for a while. I actually met him at a Mets game when he played for the Mets. He came over to us. We're sitting on first baseline, and came over while they were warming up, and he was talking to me and my wife for a while. So it was really cool. He's a super nice guy. But Todd Frazier is a great pick. But yeah, I'm going Adam Dunn or Jay Bruce just because of the Texas roots.
I thought about Adam Dunn, but then I thought like he's a big guy. I think I would try and keep up, wouldn't be able to, and would end up hungover for a week.
I thought Griffey would be an interesting one just because of like all of like the historic achievements and playing with his dad and like just how like cool and like he was in his own like right an icon of the game and like his
Yeah.
swing. Like that would have been cool just to kind of like pick his brain over. But
If you change the wording of the question, I think Griffey probably shoots more to the top of, if it's like to have a conversation with. When you add in grabbing a beer, you think of more like wild personalities.
right, you think of more like extroverted like people that you remember. No one picked Votto though, which I
Yeah.
considered, but things could probably I don't know the dynamics of the drink. You wouldn't be
One-on-one,
bored.
it might be difficult,
Yeah,
I feel like. But as
you
like
wouldn't be bored.
have him hang
gonna be
out
a
with
dinner
you,
party.
It could be awesome. Yeah.
I thought Danny Graves and David Weathers were two good names as well, just
Ooh.
because those are
Danny Graves would be a great one.
Danny
Yeah.
Graves. I just be like, hey, how was flipping off the crowd? Like, talk to me about that. Like, how did that end up working out for you? David Weathers, I just be like, hey, how was blowing every lead you came in and had?
That's stormy.
Stormy.
Who's the old JJ Hoover? Was he the one that ran in and JT Realmuto was just like
Yes.
Todd
Um,
Coffey.
yeah.
Todd Coffey.
I'm sure Homer Bailey would probably like shoot some whiskey and talk
Definitely.
about all of his injuries, but I'm trying to think of anyone else that would be. I'm sure Scott Rowland would also be kind of cool with like just going
Yeah.
from some really good teams all around and being a Hall of Famer would be cool, but Yasiel Puig.
Yasiel Puig would be a good one. That'd be another name to ask about the 2019 season.
Would you do it in prison? He's in jail, right?
I actually think you're correct in saying that, but I don't know if he's still in jail. I know he was at
Or
one point.
he was sentenced and I don't know. He's having some sort of he needs to call Masali Law today. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome.
that was Cap's Corner. I'm glad it was thought provoking. This week was who to have a beer with. Next week we might discuss what animals are slower than Ellie De La Cruz and what animals are faster than Ellie De La Cruz. Stay tuned.
All right, John. Thanks for I like it. Caps Corner. That's good. Keep the positivity. We need it. All right, let's get into some Mark's metrics here. We got two of them, so go ahead, take it away, Mark.
I don't know if any of these have actually shown to be like I think I've missed almost all of them. So
The Chase
just
Burns is not getting 180 strikeouts. It sounds like.
no, I don't. I think I didn't steer off of that one. I think I did. Didn't I do Ellie 100 RBIs or something or 90 RBIs?
That's right.
in honor of March Madness and the start of the tournament, just two little plays, obviously sponsored by Miss Sally Law or unpaid sponsorship. Use promo code OTT Reds and get 30% off at your next law consultation. Open it up for the team. I was thinking between like a really good pick for one of the games tomorrow, but I just went with a little parlay action of Houston, Gonzaga, and UConn all to make the Sweet 16 plus 200. I think all three teams are very solid in all respective game. And I think they also have decent draws all around between. I think Houston, they're on a mission to have a repeat with Florida in that Elite Eight game. In Houston, I think is where they're at to go to the Final Four. And then I think UConn is going to be a tough out as well. And then Gonzaga, I think also will get a pretty easy one with the winner of that BYU Texas game. So open that one up first, and then we'll go into the one to win it all.
With Gonzaga, the Huff injury makes me nervous, especially facing either BYU or Texas. I just think he's a pretty important member of that squad. At the same time, I think Gonzaga's made the Sweet 16 like 11 out of the past 12 years. Houston, they have in my opinion, easier route. I think Texas A&M might take over St. Mary's, and then they'll play Texas A&M round 2. I think they win that one. UConn, I think UConn is one of the best coached teams. I don't see them tumbling to UCLA or UCF. Gonzaga is my only concern.
Yeah, UConn's always playing their best basketball after St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, I think this will probably happen. The odds aren't enticing enough for me, though.
The odds were higher, they probably wouldn't hit. But even some of my lower odds, they didn't hit either. Slightly better odds that also will not hit. Arizona to win the whole tournament at plus 380. Just watching them in the Big 12 tournament, Iowa State was playing lights out, and they still lost. And Iowa State is a very good team. They also took care of business against Houston twice now. I think they've only lost twice overall in the season, and one was at Kansas, and I think the other one was Texas Tech. So, like, in terms of their losses, I think they're one of the best teams, and their region doesn't scare me. I think Utah State's not a bad 8-9 if that's the case, or Villanova, but overall, I kind of see it even being a little chaotic in that region. I think they're with Wisconsin and is Wisconsin in their bracket?
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Arkansas. I can see both those teams even losing early just because of just the way that they play basketball. But overall, like, even if they are playing one of those teams in the Sweet 16, they should take care of business. They're just so good. And I think they're due.
Yeah, I've been thinking they're due for a while. They might. I personally like Purdue out of that region, actually, though.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think I have Arkansas out of that region because I think Acuff's going to put on a performance. I think if it's Acuff versus Arizona in that Sweet 16, I think Arkansas can win that game. I also have a sneaky suspicion that John Calipari is coaching a lot better now that he's at Arkansas and not at Kentucky, because he doesn't have the pressure of win all or you're out, or you have to go far each year. Arkansas, the standards aren't as high as Kentucky. Could completely be in my head, but I have them beating Arizona, and then that following weekend or that following game beating Purdue and make it to the Final Four in my bracket.
Stand. Once again, I have been unsuccessful for majority of these metrics. So if you are keeping track, do not tail. This is to stimulate conversation amongst the team. So do what you will with that information.
What's your favorite first round game matchup?
Like to watch tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm really excited
for just this weekend.
Oh, I'm really excited for TCU Ohio State. That first game is going to be awesome. I'm also really excited for VCU North Carolina. There's a lot of good games that I am very interested in as just from a college basketball fan. And some of the 5-12s, should be interesting. Like, I think Akron could make it close with Texas Tech. There are a few games that I'm really interested in. What about you guys?
I like the first game of each day. I think is the most enticing. It's Kentucky Santa Clara's the first game of
Is it this
Friday.
Friday?
Yeah,
That should be a good
Yeah.
one too.
I think Santa Clara is going to pull that one out over Kentucky. Pesky
they could.
team.
Yeah,
I think they honestly have the better coach in that situation. Pope hasn't really done well. I think that Nebraska-Troy game could bring a lot of fun. Nebraska's 0-8 all time in the NCAA tournament. Troy, pesky little team as well.
Louisville or
Hope-
South
Louisville,
Florida.
USF. Yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that one's gonna be fun.
That
Tennessee-
Louisville top
Tennessee,
player
Miami,
just
Ohio.
went out. Yeah.
Are we rooting for Miami of Ohio tonight? I don't know. I kind
Yeah.
of would like to see them to win. I
Yeah,
don't
why
like
not?
have any like even like I don't really view them as a rival of UC, even though they're rivals. But like I'm rooting for them. I think it's cool.
They are not making a Final Four, so I'm gonna keep rooting for them the whole way.
I bet
I'll be-
the St. Louis Georgia game will also be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think probably more people are picking St. Louis in their brackets, but they've been really shaky in their defense. I just don't know if it's going to be good enough.
All right.
Georgia can
Well,
score.
all I know is Mark gave Arizona the kiss of death, so they are not going to win. So whatever you do, they're just not going to win. So feel
No
bad
shot.
for him.
I feel
No
good
shot.
about Purdue or Arkansas to that region now.
Ooh, Pig Suey.
Mark, thanks for giving a little March Madness breakdown there. Appreciate it. Let's get in around the league with Joey. This is our left field and right field rankings. Go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, second to last round of rankings. Doing the corner outfielders here. So we'll start with left field. Made it a little easier to rank him now that he moved to left field permanently. Juan Soto. The Mets, don't really think there's any argument there. James Wood of the Nationals, I got as number 2. He was really hot last year, and I think his name's not as big because he's stuck in the nation's capital. I got Roman Anthony at 3. I think this World Baseball Classic, he kind of showed himself a little bit more to the average fan as kind of belonging with a lot of those guys in the USA lineup. Actually performed better than the average hitter did for the US. We got Bellinger at 4, Jackson Churio, division rival, at 5. John's guy, Riley Green, I got at number 6 of Detroit. John really wanted the Reds to sign him or trade for him this year. Stephen Kwan of Cleveland at number 7. I got Kyle Stowers of Miami. He was a rookie last year. Really impressed.
Yep.
I think he's going to just keep getting better. Kind of stuck in a organization, another similar to James Wood, where he doesn't get much light. Randy Rosarina at 9. Probably would have been higher a few years ago. Just strikes out way too much to be any higher than 9 on this list. And then Taylor Ward at number 10, who is newly a Baltimore Oriole. I think a really good signing for Baltimore. I always thought he was an undervalued player when he was in LA with the Angels. Should I go through right field and then we do the discussion? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, right field. Number 1, Mr. Clutch, Mr. October, Aaron Judge. Number 2, Kyle Tucker, now a Dodger. I realized I put Cubs on here at first, but he's now a Dodger. Good news out of the division, bad news when it comes to October. Fernando Tatis at number 3. Ronald Acuna at number 4. I mean, this position's loaded right now. Corbin Carroll at number 5. Diamondbacks. Teoscar Hernandez at 6 of the Dodgers. And now realize one of them is probably going to have to move. Maybe Teoscar goes to left field now, but he was a right fielder last year. Lawrence Butler at 7 of the A's. Seiya Suzuki at number 8. He did get hurt in the World Baseball Classic. I made this list about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, so I'm not really sure if he's going to be ready at the start of the year. We got Wilyer Abreu at number 9. He tore the cover off the ball in the World Baseball Classic, including homer yesterday. And Sal Frelick at number 10 from Milwaukee. We're all going to hate the guy, Sal Frelick, but I want to put him on this rankings. That way I'm not looking back and I disrespected him, and that's why he's going off against us.
I mean, looking at these rankings, dude, I love it how you have all the young guys. Because I mean, if you look at WAR at the end of the season, I guarantee you, like Kyle Stowers and who's another one that's like South Frelick's not really that young anymore. Oh, James Wood. Like their WAR is going to be way more than majority of the people that are on the list. So I kind of like it how you're picking those younger guys there. I will say one thing with the right field. I think Ronald Acuna Jr. should be 1 or 2. I think if you have a healthy Ronald Acuna Jr., he's the best player in baseball. So he's just got to be healthy.
You put him above Judge?
Nah, probably put him at 2. Judge is 1. Judge is for sure 1. But like Ronald Acuna Jr. for sure 2, though.
I was going to say, I quite literally sent this text today. Ronald Acuna Jr., including his injuries, has already accomplished Rookie of the Year, 5-time MLB All-Star, 6-time NL East champion, MVP, Comeback Player of the Year, World Series champ, WBC champion, WBC MVP. To have that all done by 28, I mean, I'm putting him a healthy Ronald Acuna. It's like 1A, 1B Aaron Judge and him, I believe. I think if Ronald Acuna Jr. was healthy his entire career, he'd be talked about in the same light as the Shoheis, the Aaron Judges of the league.
Yeah, but he's
outside of that,
he's only played 100 games in 2 of the last 6 seasons.
No, I agree with you. That's why if you're talking availability and you're including that in your top 10, he has to slide because of that.
Yeah, that's exactly why he slid for me. I mean, and one of those years was 119. So we talked about all our frustration with Hunter Green never being healthy. I mean, Acuna is kind of the same deal.
Yeah.
Are we including George Springer as primarily right field? Because I would have liked to see him.
I ranked him at DH.
DH. Got it. I was going to say, I think that's going to be the majority of my questions about the rankings, like the Yordan Alvarez, if you have him at DH and not left field. Or...
I had him as the number 2 DH or 3 DH, I think, behind Schwarber. Yeah. It's hard when I threw in DH, but there are too many that are like kind of permanent DHs. And then outfield's tough. It's either center field or like they kind of play everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Is Yelich full-time DH now for Milwaukee? Okay.
Well, that's how I treat him. That's definitely where he got most of his at-bats last year.
And Duran Duran, that's another name. As a Boston Red Sox, you know more. Does he have more DH?
John, you don't remember my DH rankings at all, do you?
I wasn't listening.
Zero of them.
You were naming every guy.
How many weeks ago did you do DH rankings?
Probably like...
I couldn't tell you what I ate for breakfast this morning. What are we talking about?
No, I think you're hitting at 100% clip for when you're asking these guys. So I'm not. It's not disrespect to any of those players not being on the outfield list.
I was just looking at like the list of left fielders. Like I feel like he probably put these guys somewhere because these names deserve to be on the list. But yeah, I do agree. The young guys deservingly should be put on the list as high as they are. The Roman Anthony's, the James Woods. That's fun to see. Riley Green, he's going to continue to shock people in Detroit. Fun to watch him. But yeah, I should probably go back and look at your rankings, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Kwan is probably the one that maybe I put a little bit too low, but he doesn't have as much power as the other guys above him. And I like for an outfield batter to have a little bit more power. I'm willing to give up some of it at short or second.
What's Marte's ceiling as a right? It's pretty impressive that he like barely played right field ever, and then he just was inserted last year as like our starting right fielder. I mean, just in terms of talent, like where do you see, if we fast forward a year, where do you think he could be?
I mean, I think his ceiling is probably up there with like 6, 7 on
Teoscar. I was gonna say like right around there. Yeah.
Joey.
Kirby, I know.
It's every day of my life
for our next short.
Yeah, that's it.
I think also the biggest part for me with Noelvi Marte is I think he's actually going to struggle a lot defensively. being put in a new position is so tough. Spring training's been tough to watch. Like, I think we are going to have to watch growing pains at like a major league level, somebody learning a completely different position. Outside of that, like if he was serviceable defensively, I think with his bat and his come up, he could easily be a Teoscar around there. Weiler Abreu's a good guy to put him in company with, somebody like that.
Yeah, the Williers got 2 Gold Gloves in his 2 pro seasons, so
That's where you're going to struggle. He's not defensive.
World Baseball Classic champion.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't ever see Marte being up there with the Carrolls, Acuñas, and Tatises, but yeah, I agree. The Teoscar
No.
Hernandez is kind of like his ceiling, I would say, which we would take
I would take that.
for sure.
I would take that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Joey,
There's
thanks
only
for
one
putting
team
together
that
these
wouldn't
lists.
take it. That's the Dodgers needing to bring in Tucker.
Mhm.
Thanks for putting together these lists. I actually really like the left and right field picks for just there. It's a wide range of different types of players. So like it. Thanks for putting this together. I'm excited for center field and what
catcher.
that brings, and catcher.
That's
All right.
a
So
one-on-one
let's go ahead and get into our fan thread question here. If you were the commissioner for a year, so I guess you're just the commissioner now, what's one thing you would change to improve the fan experience? So again, if you were the commissioner for a year, what's one thing you would or change to improve the fan experience? And this is from Ryan F. What do you guys think?
Stop all these PED busts.
Yes.
Go back to steroid era.
I want to see a Barry Bonds 1.4 OPS again.
I still think, just in general, if you're trying to continue to grow the sport, accessibility is going to be the best friend for that. Making it easier to watch, making it easier to follow your team, things like that. I do think it'd be interesting, like if you're trying to get more fans inside the stadium, doing some things like the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm pretty sure this year you can get season tickets for like under $1,000. There's like $300, in fact, because they just need fans inside the gates, and they're going to make their money off concession stands, things like that. But I don't know. I think they've done such a good job, honestly, in the past 2 years of making small changes. Like pitch clock was huge. Pitch clock was huge for people who are like taking down a couple kids to the ball game. It feels a little bit more feasible to do so. I know that everybody always talks about also if you move the start time back a little bit, like the start time from like a 6:40 to like a 7:10, giving people enough time to get down to the ball game for night games, things like that. I think it's tough. They're going in the right direction, in my opinion, by adding things like ABS, pitch clock, the weird things like trying to move second base, I'm out on, but the things that are actually going to make it more family oriented and people wanting to watch, I think we can lean into that as a whole.
Yeah, I think over the last decade, really, the only thing they've done wrong is moving up some of those start times, like during the school year, I think is when they do it. So that way kids can get back in time. But I think with the pitch clock, you just don't really need to do that anymore. Starting at 7:10 is actually a better schedule, and their games would be finishing before the 6:40 games were finishing 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think the commissioner and both like the Reds have been doing a good job of fan experience. I love the pitch clock. I mean, I've definitely gotten way more back into the sport than I was in college since they added the pitch clock. And it's just like 2.5 hours is so much easier for me to take the time out of my night to either listen to the entire game while I do something or watch the entire game on a lot of nights. One thing I guess this is commissioner. Well, the one thing I was going to say for the Reds to improve fan experiences, I think on like weeknights when there's lower attendance, I wish they consolidated the fans a little bit more. It just feels like so spread out, and you're going to feed off each other's energy a lot more when you're cheering in close proximity than when you're the only person in right field. Some people are getting away with doing inappropriate things in the stands at A's games. So,
It'll get better in Vegas.
Yeah, that's just one idea I feel like would kind of make it a little bit more fun when you're going to a weeknight Reds game before school's out and there's lower attendance, is being close enough to high five another fan that you didn't buy a ticket with.
I like the challenges that they brought too. Like there's so many times like someone would steal and they were called out or vice versa, and you would just like be so mad that like a bang bang play is not able to be looked at. Um, to Joey's point, I think there should be a rule after the fifth inning. You can sit anywhere if there's an open seat. Just chaos. You can move around. That way you can just go right behind home plate and let John let him know. Um, other than that, I think they've done for being so stubborn for pretty much their whole existence. I think over the last 5 years, they've actually been pretty like willing to change.
If you're talking just pure fun and entertainment value, one time a game, only once, the team gets to pick at what moment they get to use it. You get to use an aluminum bat. Could you imagine giving a big leaguer like Ellie De La Cruz an aluminum bat? No pitching screen for the pitcher, just their lives in their own hands. I think that is one wrinkle to the game. Like if you're talking just pure fun as a commissioner, what can we do? I would love to see O'Neill Cruz. How fast that bat coming or ball coming off the bat? 130?
Yeah.
Genuinely?
Yeah.
I think that could be a fun little wrinkle. It probably wouldn't even hit half the time, right? So you're only looking at half the time when it actually does hit.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of depending
like
who gets the bat, there could be a lot of strikeouts and no contact rate with it.
It's
Or
like
a
a
foul
su-
ball
it's,
that
it's like
foul ball that kills a fan might be the
a home run that would kill a fan. It's like a
Yes.
Super Mario baseball power up. Just you
Yeah.
get the aluminum bat. No, I like all these. I think the big one is accessibility. I think if I was commissioner, I would try and make it a universal kind of way to watch games, make it easier so people can access it. I know large market teams have their own network and they make millions of dollars off of it, but I think it would be something that's beneficial. The other thing too that I've thought about is making the schedule for the baseball season more friendly for a fan experience. So like I don't know, this might be a stretch, but like you know how we have like maybe 2 games or 2 to 3 series and then we're away. What if they blocked off like 2 whole weeks? So it's just like 2 weeks of Reds home games, and then they're off for 2 weeks because they're away, and then it's like 2 weeks and then off, and then 2, and then it's close to that now. But I think just from a scheduling standpoint, with like your family, like those 2 weeks the Reds are in town. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll go to a couple games just because we know. So I don't know that's something that I've thought about, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. Scheduling in the MLB is a nightmare anyway. So, but any final thoughts on this before we get to the scoreboard stumper?
That's why we're not commissioner for the day.
For the year.
For the year. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead. Scoreboard stumper. This one's pretty fun. It's which Reds player only stole 1 base in their career, and they stole home on it. So again, it's which Reds player stole 1 base in their career, and it was home. Make sure you guys answer on the comments of this video. There's a link to our scoreboard stumper. Go ahead and put your responses there. But before we close out, any final thoughts on anything that is going on for the Cincinnati Reds?
We got
I'm excited.
less than 2 weeks. I was gonna say, let's be
Yeah,
excited.
let's-
8 days away. I look forward to us all trying to predict the 26 man here shortly. Yeah, I think excitement, right? I think everybody we can't go into it too pessimistic. Try and look at the optimistic things. I do believe still the Reds pitching staff does good at making sure that talent is ready to come to the major league. So just lean into it. Hopefully you can plug some holes in the boat and just scoot through at least April. And maybe you have Singer back and more of a rotation to lean on.
Yeah,
There's
this
gonna
is
be
March, fellas. We made it. Made it through the dark days of winter. It was 18 degrees and snowing yesterday. Tomorrow it's going to be 60 and then it's 70. And March Madness into opening day, into baseball season. It's getting good.
They're going to be frustrating to watch at times. They're going to win 5 in a row, lose 5 in a row. They're going to be exactly who we think they are. But something about just Great American Ballpark, opening day, to Joey's point, March Madness starts, Masters, just like the switch of the season is just so much fun. And then you get into the fun part of summer. So go Reds.
And we'll end with that one. So that's been Off the Thread, Reds. Thanks for joining us. Our next episode is going to be dropping Monday morning and can be found on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to check us out on social media at OT Thread Reds. And like always, go Reds.